Huh. I'm so sorry, but for some reason my intro didn't work here. What on earth? I'm so sorry. Everybody's like they look forward to that and I I don't know what happened. What happened? Oh, I'm so sorry guys that my intro screwed up. I will I will work that next time. Um but yeah, that was oh, now I have to like sing it. Down, 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 down. That's not even it. But Electric Rodeo. Gosh, man, oh man, man, oh man. Um. So tonight, I wanted to talk about um Dunkin' Egg tonight. And there's some. I know. My intro. I mean, I can try to find here. Let me see if I have another, if I can re-put the intro in here. Just for people that really, really want it, I will search for the intro. Um, it's gonna be a movie, right? Do, 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 do. Okay. Okay. I think this might be it. All right, now I need to redo my overlay because my new camera. Um, there we go. All right, I got it. I got it. Um, so anyway, I wanted to talk about Dunkin' Egg this evening because so G Steph posted his final Reddit post on the Secrets of Cushing library. He almost didn't. He was like, I don't know if there's enough. I don't know if there's enough to talk about it. But luckily he did in the end. He changed his mind. And there's just a few changes here. And when I for those that don't know what I'm talking about, the George R. R. Martin takes his previous drafts and such, and he gives them to the Texas A&M University Library, where that holds it all. And fans were able to just walk in and look at previous drafts. Previous drafts of A Dance with Dragons used to be open, but after a fan went through and found a comment about cold hands from an editor, they locked up the A Dance with Dragons ones, so you can't go see those anymore. However, all the previous drafts for his previous work are there. And G Stuff has done a number of, G Stuff spent a couple days going in and going through boxes and looking at drafts and has a number of great posts on different changes to A Game of Thrones, A Feast for Crows, which includes early parts of A Dance with Dragons because they used to be the same book, A Storm of Swords, Clash of Kings. And there happens to be, he looked for Dunkin' Egg, and there were no previous drafts of the Hedge Knight or the Mystery Knight. However, there was one single earlier draft of the Sworn Sword. So he looked through the Sworn Sword, and he was like, there's not that many changes. There was a previous draft, and it was published in August of 1998. He had a draft from December 31st, 1997. And the he was not, oh, I'm sorry, this was from, when's the draft? Is the draft I'm so sorry. Sword is published in 2003, September 2003. He has a draft from January 2003. So it wasn't that different is what G Stuff said. However, there were some small changes. And although G Stuff was very disappointed that there weren't larger changes, I think actually what is there tells us a lot. about Dunk and Egg in George R. R. Martin's mind. Now let's keep in mind that, look, for a summary of the changes, it's pretty brief. We find out that in the original draft, rather than what would spoilers in the what would is a metaphor for the whole story. There's a drought. You're thinking that this woods are going to start on fire, and it does start on fire at the climax of the story. And in the published story, you think that perhaps it's an accident, perhaps it was intentional, but we don't know. In the original draft, the previous draft, it was set by Lucas Longinch, and George changed it to be more ambiguous. So not too much there. That's interesting and all, but the story is actually better not knowing and thinking maybe it was an accident, because it is just a metaphor for the whole thing, the whole story anyway too. He's not causing all of the problems, he's not causing the drought as much as a dick as Lucas Longinch is. The other is there's a little more information about Lady Vaith. They talk about her having a bone throne and nursing leopards on her tit and things like that. That paragraph was cut. And then in the original draft, Lord Butterwell is the liege lord of Rohan Weber and Sir Eustace Osgrey. In the published version, it is Rowan of Golden Grove. Now, there's this question of, okay, is that a big deal? And I had a brief back and forth with G-Steph about it. And I argued that I actually kind of think it is a big deal because it tells us a little bit about George R. R. Martin and his planning on at least Dunk and Egg. So what's fascinating about Dunk and Egg is specifically the Sworn Sword. If you go into the Hedge Knight is a great story. It's a fucking fantastic story. However, there's not exactly that much world building in the Hedge Knight. There's some with regards to the family tree that George R. R. Martin then ham-fists the family tree discussion in an early John chapter of A Clash of Kings. But for the most part, the story is there by itself. Maybe there's some information there about the Dornish and the Dornish marriages and hair color and surprises like that. But that the Sworn Sword does a lot more. The Sworn Sword, of course, introduces Bloodraven and Blackfires. Daemon Blackfire is briefly mentioned in A Storm of Swords, but Bloodraven and the many Blackfire rebellions get a lot more detail in the Sworn Sword. And suddenly that's the thing. That's the element of the age, which goes on to the Mystery Knight and it is this huge, huge aspect of the Mystery Knight, which is straight in the Blackfire rebellions. It's the second Blackfire rebellion is the Mystery Knight. And what's interesting about the Sworn Sword is written again in 2002, 2003, which coincidentally is around the time George is writing early drafts, like early chapters of A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons. And it's almost hilarious when once you read The Sworn Sword and you keep in mind that this was written around the same time as those chapters, how many shoot-in things from The Sworn Sword are in early chapters of A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons. It's kind of funny. It changes things a little bit. So, for instance, we never find out who the kings that the Tyrells replace in the Reach are until the Sworn Sword. We find out that it's the Gardeners. Okay. And what happens at the beginning of A Feast for Crows? Oh, well, they find that gardener coin in the cell, in Rugen's cell. And it's like, for a crazy theorist like me, we all were like, what's the significance of this gardener coin? And then you just kind of go, well, George was writing the Sworn Sword at the same time, and he just kind of shoved that information in. Or like, Darian, the singer, decides to sing a song about Bloodraven and him having 1,001 eyes, like on the ship to Bravos very early on. Like, and you can go through these things like one by one. You're like, oh my god, like all these references, like Danelle, like Brienne running into a bunch of guys who are like, you've got a shield of Danelle Lawston, and all this stuff, all this Duncan Egg information is shoved in the beginning of chapters in A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons. Little things like this. Oh, there's a whole bunch of them, countless stuff. I mean, some stuff's later. I mean, Reek was written maybe later, but that also has like a reference to the Lord's right to the first night, which is first mentioned in Sworn Sword and all this sort of stuff. And so that sort of stuff is kind of interesting. Like that when George is writing two stories in parallel, he seeds the information. And oh god, like Vaith. Like Vaith is mentioned as a Dornish city in the Sworn Sword. And that's and all of a sudden it's where their pole boat is going to get off in the Queenmaker chapter and things like this. Like Dagon Greyjoy, never fucking mentioned previously, this incredibly significant character historically, never mentioned before, brought up in the Sworn Sword. All of a sudden, they're talking about Dagon Greyjoy and A Feast for Crows. Like, same with Bloodraven. Think about how significant Bloodraven is, and he only comes up first in A Feast for Crows. I mean, after the Sworn Sword. So he loves seeding these things crossed. Now, what's fascinating about Butterwell and the switch from Butterwell specifically in the Sworn Sword is that Butterwell was going to be the liege lord for Eustace Osgrey and Rohan Weber, and then removed, which kind of means that George R. R. Martin was thinking heavily about the next stories in the Duncan Egg story, enough that he realized, like, I should have them Duncan Egg go to the Riverlands next and have a change of scenery. So I'll move Butterwell from being a Reacher house to being a Riverlands house. And there's one fascinating paragraph that I think is very telling about the Sworn Sword. And I didn't really think about it until the Butterwell thing, where I'm like, George, he's writing a lot of stuff on the fly, but at least with Duncan Egg, he has a lot of the stories, at least the next two, planned out in his head as early as 2002. Which is not that search for Ice and Fire. I want the other search. Here it is. This is the paragraph that I think is fascinating. Okay. Also, keep in mind, like the in tandem with the Vaith information as well, that George was thinking about writing a Dornish adventure with Lady Vaith, maybe, and that he had all this information about the Dornish adventure and then like cut it, but he was still thinking about, like, it's this crazy, it's the Lady Vaith paragraph. I understand why it was cut, because it comes out of fucking nowhere and describes this woman sitting on a bone chair who might have been a mistress of Aegon the Unworthy, and how she nurses leopards and how they had to escape from there. It's very clearly an adventure happened to them, and George could have written that into a story, but of course, like, he doesn't. But But this is the paragraph that I think is super interesting on the Sworn Sword. So, as we know, in the Sworn Sword, there is a problem with the dam. There's a water dispute. And so Dunk is sent to treat on behalf of Eustace. But Eustace decides to ride with Dunk half the way, and tell him random stories about, the world that have nothing to do with the story going forward. Okay. I mean, some of it may be a tad, but here, this is the paragraph. The Great Spring sickness had never come to Dorne, perhaps because the Dornish had closed their borders and their ports, as had the Arryns of the Vale, who had also been spared. All this talk of death is enough to put man off wine, but cheer is hard. It's hard to come by in such times we're living. The drought endures for all of our prayers. Okay, this drought is the plot of the Sworn Sword. Okay, the King's Wood is one great tinderbox, and fires rage there day and night. Then we get to this. Bittersteel and the sons of Daemon Blackfire are hatching plots in Tyrosh. Well, that's the plot of the Mystery Knight. And Dagon Greyjoy's krakens prowl the sunset seas like wolves, raiding as far south as the Arbor. Now, of course, they're raiding the north as well, which is what we get the she-wolves of Winterfell, thus the sea like wolves kind of thing. But Dagon Greyjoy's krakens and their attacks on the north is the plot of the she-wolves of Winterfell. So we have story 3, story 5. They carried off half the wealth of Fair Isle, 100 women. Lord Farman is repairing defenses. But he strikes me as a man akin to a man who claps his pregnant daughter in chastity belt when her belly's as big as mine. Lord Bracken is dying slowly on the Trident, and his eldest son perished in the spring. That means Sir Otho must succeed. The Blackwoods will never stomach the brood of Bracken as a neighbor. It will mean war. Well, that's the village hero. So that is story 4. So amazingly, in the Sworn Sword, we actually have the plots of stories 3, 4, and 5 there. Now we kind of know from later on that we know from the World of Ice and Fire roughly that there would be probably a story called the Cell Sword. So when I go through these stories, right, we got the Hedge Knight, the Sworn Sword, the Mystery Knight. The Dornish Adventures might be 1.5, but George with Lady Vaith. Village Hero would be 4. That's Bracken's Blackwoods. 5, She-Wolves of Winterfell. 6, which isn't mentioned here, is probably the Cell Sword, which would have to do with Dunk actually duels one of the Blackfire kings and ends a Blackfire, the third Blackfire rebellion, on his own, which would seem to go with the plots of each of the Dunk and Egg stories seem to always end in a duel. Dunk's trial by combat, Dunk versus Long Inch, and then Daemon versus who's the other guy in the Mystery Knight duel? It's been so long since I've read Mystery Knight that I've forgotten who was in the duel. The trial is it it's Glendon, of course, Glendon Flowers. Glendon Flowers against Daemon. So there's a duel there. And then it sounds like there'd be a Dunk versus a Blackfire in story 6. And then we know that it's Dunk versus Lionel Baratheon in the Champion, right? So it seems like every story seems to be a duel. The Sworn Sword also ends remarkably similar to the Hedge Knight, where in the Hedge Knight, they're like, oh, where are we going next? And they're like, how about Dorne? They have good puppets. And then at the Sworn Sword ends with them being like, well, why don't we head north for the wall? I hear it's tall, you know. The Mystery Knight like breaks that tradition and they stop with it. But I think it's pretty fascinating that George had, because we know George, I don't know, like claims that he just gardens and goes like writes as he goes. And evidence shows that George changes his mind a lot, and the story is definitely shifting from what he originally planned. But it's interesting that with these Dunk and Egg stories, that as early as 2002, George had a real idea of where he wanted the next stories to go. And these earlier drafts, this paragraph being the proof of it, or being a lot of evidence of it, and the shifting of Butterwell and the deletion of Lady Vaith being more like evidence that he really did have an idea of like where the Dunk and Egg stories specifically were going, or roughly the plot of each one, which seemed to be Dunk rolls into town and ends up in a fucking trial by combat. That seems to be the plot of every fucking story. Is that another fucking trial by combat? Yes. Okay. Dunk, trial by combats, all fucking day long. Every goddamn story. But anyway, many thanks to G Stuff for all of his work that he did on pulling that out. I thought that it was very interesting. It made me rethink Dunk and Egg some more. You know, that George very early on, like clearly not in the Hedge Knight. Clearly he didn't know what he was doing with the Hedge Knight. The Hedge Knight, he probably, when he wrote it, was like, this is a one-off story. And then when he did the Sworn Sword, he's like, I am going to do many stories with Dunk and Egg. And didn't. But he had them each planned out. So, in the book, Dunk lost a joust and thus lost his armor and horse to Uther Underleaf. They replaced this with the plumber scene, as was Sir Uther, who originally wanted Dunk to throw the joust. Thoughts? I don't know where. Did this come from an interview or something? I'm wondering where this information came from. I mean, let's see here. I mean, I don't know where this information comes from. I've not heard this. Oh, are we talking about that Uther Underleaf? Is that from Mystery Knight? Oh, you're talking about in Mystery Knight. All right. I thought somehow this was like a previous version of Hedge Knight. That yes, in the Mystery Knight, Uther Underleaf is talking about him throwing jousts, and that. But it, this is later on. Like this would happen in season 3, right? Um, so I don't think it's a replacement. Like the plumber scene isn't replacing anything because we haven't gotten to the mystery night. This is what this confused me. So I mean I understand that this can be very confusing. That like I say, every Dunk and Egg story is a fucking trial. Is a fucking joust and a fucking trial. So they kind of have similar plots. So yes, in Mystery Night, there's another fucking joust. There's another fucking tourney, and so we've got different events here. So like Uther wants him to Mystery Night, like he's like Dunk is told to throw some jousts, and that in the show Plumber asks Dunk to throw some jousts, but one's not replacing the other. I bet when we get to Mystery Night that's going to happen again, right? Again, it's been a while since I've read Mystery Night. Yeah. Duncan loses his first tilt to Uther Underleaf, and then he had been paid to kill Dunk in the joust, and then right, he wants him to right. There's just a whole bunch of shenanigans. Not to get into the Mystery Nights like spoilers and such, but no, yeah. So no, the Dunk scene was not replaced by Plumber. Plumber is just another scene where people are talking about cheating and at jousts. Now, keep in mind, I don't think there's been a joust in Ice and Fire where people aren't cheating or talking about cheating, or something crazy happening like that. Like everybody thinks that like Rhaegar cheated to end up winning the joust at Harrenhal. We know that in the Hands tourney, Loras was cheating by having a mare in heat. We suspect that Littlefinger has brought in knights and is going to manipulate the joust in the upcoming Winds of Winter chapter that we're never going to read. I mean, I suppose we don't hear any cheating about it with Jorah Mormont or something, but yeah, it just seems to be. George just kind of has every joust be something where people are cheating right and left. So it's not that the Plumber scene is out of place. It just doesn't go anywhere. Anyway. Thoughts on Rafe and the fact that she had the same skin color and slight resemblance to Tansel. Show reason for Dunk's attraction to her or no? I mean, Carmine brought this up too. Like he thought that like Dunk had a type. I don't think they look alike at all. Like I don't think they look alike at all. Chloe Bia is her name. She is like 5 feet tall, and the woman that plays Tansel Too Tall is like 6 feet tall. The woman who plays Tansel Too Tall, I mean, she's her background, I know she's half Australian, half Black American. She's got freckles. She's fairly light skinned. She's got a rounded face. Chloe Bia is like sharp jaw. They have completely different personalities. One is very sweet and one is very like whip smart and shrewd. I mean, other than the fact that like one of them is like that neither of them is fully white. They have literally nothing in common. They have nothing in common, like looks wise, personality wise, body type. Like they are completely different in my mind. The only thing that's similar about them is that neither of them is fully white. I mean, it's which isn't much, but at the same time, like it's like, I'm not like, um, you know, giving you the business too much, MJ, because like I say, other people, not just Carmine, but like a couple other people that I've heard were like, oh yeah, like Dunk has a type, and it's just like I don't understand. Like now, keep in mind, like I grew up in a fairly multicultural like you know like environment in Maryland and went to university in a very multicultural like environment. Like I've always been surrounded by people that were not white. So like if one is in a all white grew up around all white people, maybe they would think that this is some sort of like big deal. But like that's not my life. And so I'm just like they're just completely different. I mean, I don't know Chloe Bia's like background. If I were to guess, which is always dangerous, if I were to guess, I guess she's South Asian. Um, while the actress that plays Tansil Tutal is, like I say, half Black American, half white Australian. Um, I mean, very different ethnicities. The only similarity is that they're women, and they are not fully white. So I've heard this a bunch, like, oh, Dunk's got a type, and it's like, I don't know. He seemed pretty attracted to the sex workers too. And in the next story, he's gonna, Rowan Weber is a little redhead, so I think he just likes women. He just likes women. There's not that many women around in these stories, and when he runs into it, it's yeah. Um, oh, the writer credits for House of Dragons season 3 are up. Um, Hess is writing 2 and 3 flashback episodes. Interesting. Huh. And one's going to focus on Aegon, the other Daron. Interesting. Yeah, it makes sense. It also makes sense that they'd have a flashback episode to try to keep Jace alive as long as possible. Jace should be dead. They're just got to try to keep him alive. People have been very, very excited about the World Baseball Classic. Tonight is the United States Dominican Republic game, which a lot of people have been crazy about. For those that don't know, Dominican Republic is absolutely insane about baseball. It is their sport. All the children in the summertime or go to baseball camps. There is a lot of baseball players that come out of here. It's a big industry. It's a big industry here. And MLB is just massive here. If egg befriending Dunk is an extremely random event, how do Bloodraven's powers work? Can we see the outcome of every tiny decision? That's an interesting thing, because we know that Bloodraven can't time travel. Okay, that's the one thing. Unlike Bran, we know that Bloodraven can't time travel. So he has not seen previous iterations and like what a change might do and like the outcome. So he's hindered. So I think with Bloodraven we must be dealing with like other stuff with him. Now, of course, like egg befriending Dunk, like Bloodraven didn't exist when the Hedge Knight was written, so it's like a retroactive fucking thing. But like, how much is Bloodraven around? People theorize that the Sworn Sword the men in the cage at the beginning and the end of the Sworn Sword, like we never find out who killed those men. It doesn't seem like it would be Sir Eustace, and it doesn't seem like it would be Rohan Weber, right? Like neither character seems like the type who would take two men and shove them in a cage and like leave them to die in the heat. Like so the question is like, who did that? And some people think maybe Bloodraven did it, but Bloodraven planned it all. But yeah, like how we getting Bloodraven? So there is a weird scene in the Sworn Sword where it's a flashback and Dunk sees Bloodraven as he comes into King's Landing. And Bloodraven like turns and like stares at Dunk for a moment. And so it may be that like, from the beginning, like Bloodraven's like, this is going to be some guy I'm going to keep tabs on and he's going to be like my tool. But how did he know that like he was going to be, that he and Sir Arlen of Pennytree were going to be riding in the Reach of all places, because they travel everywhere. They're hedge knight. Sir Arlen's a hedge knight. You could maybe argue that, okay, Bloodraven caused Arlen to get sick and die, but is he giving him visions to say like, oh, you need to go to the Ashford tourney? And then Bloodraven like makes him sick. And then he sends a Daron the drunkard the vision so that Dunk can like befriend Egg, and Egg can, influence Egg to like escape and want a squire for Dunk so that he can go into town. And then when Arion is breaking Tansel Too Tall's fingers, like Egg can go warn Dunk so that Dunk can then like intervene and then get arrested, and then it's a lot. Like if it's time traveling Bran, it's so much easier because it's like, well, time traveling Bran's been through this shit like 10,000 times, and so he knows like I can just do this change and the character goes this way, and the next time I can do this and the character go this way. But how does Bloodraven do that? How does Bloodraven change all of these events? Because like even if you claim like, okay, Bloodraven, the Kingsguard are working for him, okay, and they're totally on board with killing killing Baelor. You still need a fucking trial by combat. How do you get to a trial by combat? Like it has to be so many little. It has to be so much mind control and so many little prophetic dreams to get everybody to get to that point. It is ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I guess that's the only thing that can happen. Right? Because the prophecy, clearly somebody is sending Daron the prophecy. So how do they fucking know? Because we know that we know that Bloodraven can't time travel. Oh, God damn it! Like, and you could be like, okay, well maybe we don't have all this influence, but it's just like, okay, all what's with the prophecy and the puppeteering themes? Is it time traveling Bran the whole time? Can time traveling Bran actually go back in time that far? Was there another time traveler? Or Oh, fuck. Okay. I take everything back. Maybe there is a time-traveling blood raven. The blood raven that we meet in A Dance with Dragons, he may be just going through the iterations too. And that blood raven has yet to join the werewood net completely. He hasn't yet died. And so that there is actually a time traveling blood raven on top of current blood raven. And time traveling blood raven, because we go quantum leap, you can time travel within your own lifetime. So time traveling blood raven has gone through the events enough that he can. It gets complicated when there's more than one time traveler. Time traveling Bran and time traveling blood raven. Time traveling. Could there be a time traveling blood raven who learns to time travel after he claims that he can't do it? Or maybe he's just lying to Bran. You can't time travel. Oh, yeah, you can. I mean, the prophecy stuff doesn't make sense unless he has a lot of fucking control over stuff, you know, to get blood, to get, because I mean, how do you know each of those things? Like, how do you know Egg would run to Dunk? How do you know Dunk would respond the way he did? You know, like just even that event. Like, how do you know that like Egg wouldn't just freeze and be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe my brother's doing that"? Why would he, like? How do we know that Egg is going to be the type of person to like, rather than freezing, like run to Dunk, or maybe try to run to the castle to tell Baelor and Maekar, you know, like me, and how do we know, you know? What are the strengths and weaknesses of William Faulkner's writing style? I found As I Lie Dying difficult to get into, and the child's point of view was just as unhinged. Huh. Well, I mean, everybody is everybody has their own opinions. What's Faulkner's Sound and the Fury? Is that probably the most famous? Nobel laureate. I mean, he won the Nobel Prize, so somebody must fucking think he's great. Let's see here. Let's pull up some. Bringing up the Sound and the Fury here. Sound and the Fury, and As I Lay Dying. Oh, nice. Let's pull up his writing here. It's just gonna pull up a random thing. Through the fence between the curling flower spaces, I could see them hitting. They were coming toward where the flag was, and I went along the fence. Luster was hunting in the grass by the flower tree. They took the flag out, and they were hitting. Then they put the flag back, and they went back. They went to the table, and hit, and he hit, and another hit, and they went on. And I went along the fence. Luster came away from the flower tree, and we went along the fence. And they stopped, and we stopped, and I looked through the fence while Luster was hunting in the grass. Here, Caddy, he hit. They went way across the pasture. I held to the fence and watched them going away. Listen at you now, Luster said. Ain't you something? 33 years old, going on the way. After I'd done went the way to town to buy you that cake. Hush up that morning. Ain't you going to help me to find quarter so I can go to the show tonight? They were hitting little across the pasture. I went through the fence to where the flag was. It flapped on the bright grass in the tree. It's an interesting combination of here, I'll try a different paragraph here. The bones rounded out the ditch where the dark vines were in the black ditch. Into the moonlight, like some of the shapes had stopped. Then they all stopped, and it was dark. And when I stopped to start again, I could hear mother and feet walking fast away, and I could smell it. Then the room came, but my eyes went shut. I didn't stop. I could smell it. TP unpinned the bedclothes. There's definitely some so again, like, it's what you like about it, right? So he is doing something that I think is pretty unique in that he's taking what some would call like lower class speaking and then blending it with poetic language and then purposely using repetition of terms, the exact opposite of graceful variance. Like, he's throwing in the same words over and over again, which give it a kind of an odd, jarring feel to it. Short sentences. It's all very, because it's all short and powerful. He's doing various things to cause dissonance. It's hard for me personally to read dialogue that's like, ain't no way you go downtown, and you're just like, oh God. And you're sitting there trying to decipher everything, sitting there being like, what? Like, what are they writing? Like, 'cause what are they saying? I've never met anyone in my life that really talks that way. So it's just like, always, and it's not like I haven't lived in different parts of America but sometimes it's just like when something's like, ain't no showing, best do this. And you're just like, what? Like, maybe rural villages in the South, I don't know. Like, I haven't lived there. Like, I'm not a fan of that type of like dialogue writing personally, but I can understand that this is different and like the one thing about artists is that a big goal of artists is to have a signature. More important, like something where you read it and you look at something, whether this goes for music, whether it goes for paintings, whether it goes for writing, is when you read something and you just know, like, oh yeah, like 1 second, like, oh, I know what that is. Like, every one of you can look at a Picasso and you know it's a Picasso. Like, immediately, you're like, oh yeah, that's a Picasso. You can look at a Rothko painting and be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. Yeah, it's Rothko. Like, it's just like, it's got that, sound. It's got that vision, that this has the sound. So I think what the strength is you're looking for signature here. He's writing in a way that is unique. I've never seen anyone write like Faulkner here. Okay. Like blending things that have never been blended. People try to write like lower class people a lot, but then to blend it with like extreme, like poetic language, and to use various, like, thumbing your nose at the rules of language by like shunning graceful variance and using repetition and stuff like that. So, like I said, I would say that your strengths are the fact that as an artist, he is forming a signature and he is doing things intentionally to cause emotional reaction to it and receive and getting the emotional reaction he wants. Those are his strengths. He's manipulating you, and he's making you feel what he wants you to feel. That's what a great artist does. Now his weakness, if you're trying to just read something for enjoyment, and that this isn't it, right? This isn't it. This isn't fun. This is work. This is fucking work to read this. And some people believe that reading should be work, you know? And so that's the thing, is if you're talking about communication of ideas, and reading something and causing the viewer to enjoy themselves, that's a massive, that's a big thing. Like no one's gonna sit there on the beach and be like, let me just relax with the sound and the fury. So I mean, but those are the things to work with. Like you got to remember that art isn't always like, oh, this is pleasant to my ear and enjoyable. Like art isn't always enjoyable. So just remember that. It's not like a meal. It's not like going to a fancy restaurant being like, oh, I had this incredible meal. Like the joy, like the point of a great meal is to taste good. Right? Like the point of great writing isn't necessarily enjoyment. The point of a great painting isn't necessarily enjoyment. It's to, evoke emotion, to represent the human condition. You're not eating a great meal to represent the human condition. Like you're not being like, oh, I understand humanity better by having this pate with like whipped cream, or they do it like weird. I know it's whipped cream. Like they do this weird frothy thing. It is the hip thing at fancy restaurants now, whatever. But plans for Melisandre 2 and Davos 2 in the fanfic. So Melisandre, in Melisandre 2, we are going to be continuing on the idea that the Weeper is heading down the wall. And we have to deal with a number of other issues, like Justin Massey making it to the wall, and other. So the main plot is Melisandre preparing soldiers and everything for the Weeper coming. But then the big thing is, this other element is Justin Massey showing up, and how things might lead to a Shireen situation there. Why, hello.
Stop spoiling the fanfic.
I know, but he asked. I'm not spoiling it, but Davos also is at the wall, hearing about the same attacks from the Weeper. He has more to deal with because I think you've got the giants with the mammoths coming around the wall. You've got a lot of people that we've forgotten about that are at Eastwatch. Gren and Pip, perhaps Alar Deem, perhaps a lot of the assassins that Cersei sends that never showed up. The end world zealots from A Clash of Kings. There's a lot of characters with Davos that are left over at Eastwatch that need to be reconciled. But yeah, that's the plan is essentially the Weeper's attack, the Weeper coming down the wall, and how people are preparing for that. Yeah.
Your Mel chapter came out of nowhere, and it's like legitimately one of my favorites. I was telling you about this before, but someone was asking me like my favorite chapters. It's all Northern stuff, man. I'm so interested. Take a poll like right now. I don't know if you can do that on Ecamm. You can do it normally. Like what's like your best chat is like the North stuff is just the best.
I mean, I can ask. I do the poll on YouTube and come back a week later. Like, which is your favorite chapter?
It's such a shame too, because, and this, like people will give you shit every now and then in the fandom because he's gonna add all his like ideas and stuff. Some of the ideas that you and the editors came up with is great. Like the Davos chapter, I wish most of the people in the fandom could read the Davos chapter. First off, again, we're friends. Obviously, I'm gonna fucking praise it. But
Yeah,
even if
yeah.
we weren't, like even if someone who dislikes you, they have to admit like the Davos chapter is very well done. The
Oh,
Asha
yeah.
chapter is very well done. You did more in the Davos chapter than George did it in all of the Davos chapters in the last book.
Well, that's true. Well, Davos doesn't do anything. It's hard. It's hard to. It's pretty easy to do more than nothing. Yeah, I think someone
Ooh,
even
that's
said that like
cool.
Nerdrotic like heard the Harrower, the Aeron 2 chapter, and was like, oh, that's pretty good. I mean, I hate Preston, but that was pretty good. I was like,
Did he actually really?
I think somebody said that like he'd listened to it and was like, that was really good. Even though he hates me. Yeah.
He hates
So
you. He hates you. How dare Preston wants prosperity for all, healthcare, and all this?
I
Like, how
know, I
dare he? I
know.
hate.
How dare he? How dare he?
No,
Yeah.
the Devils chapter is great. Your Mel chapter was pretty good. I was on the fence with your Mel chapter because you were gonna kill off so many fucking characters, but
Mm,
it worked out. Like Mel comes into her own.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just gotta. People are like, "How dare you? How dare you kill it?" I didn't. The thing of it, like, I didn't even do it
People like
on
Tormund, man.
screen. It was off screen. I killed off all these people off screen. There's a lot of people. All these people that got introduced. Like John spends a whole chapter being like, and next came in like, like Harl the handsome and Harl the hunter, dead, dead,
I
dead,
love you,
dead,
man,
dead.
but you David and Dan did because that's what David and Dan did with the Blackfish.
That's true. It's true. It's true. Blackfish killed off screen.
Bring him to me. I can't, sir. He died in the fighting. Off screen? Are you insane? In Game of Thrones, bro?
I know.
Stop.
I know.
But real quick, sorry to this person who is next in line, but can we talk about what your plan is with Missandei? Because that
Mm.
came out of nowhere, and people in my server were like, "What the fuck is he doing with Missandei? She's a faceless. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on with
Yeah. Yeah.
this?" You've discussed this before last year, but you
Mm.
didn't touch on it.
Yeah. So generally, my plan with Missandei is so Quentin is acquiring like now this whole interesting group of characters that are going to be in his chapters going forward.
Mm.
In the last chapter we had him with Strong Belwas and Missandei and the leftover squires that Barristan didn't bring into battle. Um, and so like who's left. And so they deal with Quentin. So in the next chapter, like Quentin is going to decide that now that he kind of has loose control over a dragon, um, we're going to have him try to take the demon road to Volantis because he can't get on ships. It's too dangerous. So he's going to try to get out by going on the demon road. And the idea is that it's going to be called the Ratcatcher chapter, and the idea is that all of these people are following him, and so he's kind of leading them like the Pied Piper, which is a rat catcher. He's kind of leading them like the Pied Piper. Not that he wants to, but they're all following him. All of these people, all of these refugees, are following him along the Demon Road. Logistically, I don't know. I have to figure out how they're getting food, which is one of the things that's like kind of been in my head. Like, how are they eating? Not that George ever fucking worries about that. He doesn't. But like, I'm always like, how are they eating? How are they getting food? And so the idea is that he is going to be traveling the demon road with all of these other people, being followed by one of the dragons. And so this is, so I guess the demon road doesn't really even begin until maybe maybe they can fish or something as they go along the coast. And then when they get to the demon road and try to make it to Mantares. Um, and so the idea is that Strunk Belwas and Missandei are going to be with him. And Missandei, there's been a lot of hints that there's something up with her. So I think it's just interesting to make her like, let's lean into it and make her a faceless man. And then if she were a faceless man, like what was her whole deal? Like, why was she hanging out with Dany? And well, why is anyone interested in Dany except for Dario? Dario is the only one who has true intentions with Dany. They all want her dragons, they all want her fucking dragons. So like, now that the dragon is going with Quentyn, it makes sense that Missandei would want to follow Quentyn, and that she's going to try to get close to him. And so the idea is that she was going to try to seduce this like young boy who doesn't have any experience with women, and that this is part of the story. Now, of course, the big thing that creeps everybody out is like, isn't Missandei like 10 or 11? And the answer is like, well, no, like we've established that like faceless men are like 44 or whatever. And like, isn't it still creepy? Of course it's creepy. That's George R.R. Martin. Did you read the Mercy chapter? Like, of course you're supposed to feel uncomfortable. That's the whole point. That things are weird and creepy and uncomfortable. But the idea is that she's a faceless man, and that that she's going to be, yeah.
Someone in the stream chat was like, Preston, please, this is such a bad idea. Hey, look, I'm willing to see where you go with this.
This is what they say about all my ideas, and then when they're put to page, everybody's like, oh, never mind. That was fine. That was, what do you like I say, like, take the Mel chapter. People beforehand were like, oh, this idea of like Mel leading all of these people at the wall, like this is a horrible idea. And then, chapter comes out, it's fine. It's great. It's great.
I'll be honest with you. I'm a little disappointed because you and me and Trey, we had 2 years ago in a stream. You and I were the three of us were talking about like how crazy after Jon is stabbed would have been, like the chaos, like the mutineers setting fire to the longhouse and all this stuff, and like who's the first person to go down is Satin, and then like we drew the map. Well, shout out to Mr. Kenny who drew the map of Castle Black and where everything is, yada yada yada. Yeah, like that sounded very exciting, and then the fact that you skipped through that, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed by that.
gotta move on.
You gotta kill people. Yeah, I know. And what's funny about you and George R. R. Martin is that according to that THR article, he planned on killing Sansa, but you plan on having her at the very end chapter of Dan.
Whispering Wood is off page. I mean, a lot of like big, eventful, great things are off page.
Yeah, of course.
So, Robert's Rebellion, the Trident.
That's a little different. That's a little different.
But Whispering Wood is off page.
Still. I mean, hey, look, man. Whatever you need to do. Hey, whatever you need to do to.
Most of the Blackwater is. I mean, most of like, Renly's ghosts and stuff like that. Like that's all off page. You get Tyrion's little thing, but that's it. So
I also understand that you have to have some of this off page so you can slip in more Ariel Hota chapters. Like I get it.
Absolutely. The big thing is just all Ariel Hota chapters.
What's funny is I was able to convince a couple of people that the Missandei is a faceless man thing. That's actually not your idea. That's actually George's idea. G Steph told us privately that George initially intended that for wins.
I mean, it's overwhelmingly clear that George wants us to at least think about it.
Is it?
Like that's overwhelmingly clear. Here. Where is... So we get a Dance with Dragons, and then I'm trying to like... What's the thing? Where's the thing on the waif? let's see here, where she tells us she's 44. Four and trying to get the doesn't she, how old is it? She said, I thought she tells her that she's 44. Waif's big eyes, the waif lived below. Does the waif disappear? It's all feast for crows. Where she's talking about the poisons and what they did to her body. And you got to remember that, like, these are in the same. Oh, they play the lying game. In the evenings, she played the lying game. Yeah. I think it's the placement, and then like fuck, am I misremembering when the fucking game where she tells the age was? But the idea is that, like, the Missandei stuff is happening like right around the same time, where people are like, "Oh, she's so smart for her age," and you're like, "You just read a fucking chapter about the waif."
Well,
Like,
are you going to explain why a faceless man was an Astapor? And because when we first meet her,
mm-hmm.
you're going to explain like Missandei's like original mission, the faceless man original mission?
Well, I mean, original, like, eventually, like, you can't give everything away, like, but the idea is that they would have faceless men like all over the place, like, in outposts, in case they see something interesting. But it, to run into Dany at that point, because Dany turns into Slaver's Bay with no warning. Like, there's no warning that she's gonna fucking head that way. And so Waif, I mean, the like Missandei, would just kind of be there, and be like, "Oh, I need to attach myself to Dany or something."
Okay. Hey, look, man. So far I've been enjoying the thing. I've been bothering you about getting Jamie to me, and have you? Are you changing anything up with Jamie, or is what I got going to be the final thing?
I mean, you could, like, open up and you can read the last line again.
You changed it.
Yeah, I changed it.
Let me see what you got here. What'd you do?
Carmine didn't like the. He convinced me that the last line was bad, and so
I didn't say it was bad.
After you told me what you told me, I was like, okay, it's bad, and so I changed the last line.
Let me see what you got.
I mean, it's like I say, things change.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah. But anyway, he's read the first version of the Jamie. It's got some time to be changed. People are so worried about these things. Like, oh my god! Like, the thing is imagine if, like, you heard the plot of A Dance with Dragons before, like, it came out, and you found out that it was, like, someone besides George, like, doing it. You'd be like, they've included another Targaryen claimant. Like, that's so stupid. That's horrible. And he's led by this, like, gay guy. Oh man, it's, like, so woke. Like, people would just, like, have stuff to just, like, trash it. And they're like, and nothing happens with Dany and Jon the whole time. And then they stab Jon at the end. And then Bran we find out that Bran is a time traveler. Like come on.
Did we find that? Wasn't that the complaints when it first came out? I remember reading an article about, because right now we think Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars film, but
Sure.
apparently back then people complained about that's how you're ending it. That's how it's conclude. Like what? So we'll see.
Yeah.
You got good editors with you, so
yeah. Haven't made a stream in a while. Did we talk about who else is the Not Really Dead Club with Dunk? Jace, Luke, Damon, Syrio, Luther Tyrell, Stefan Barr, the Tower of Joy crew, and the Somehow Targs, Ben S. I'm trying to think like of these who's a possibility. Definitely Luke. Definitely Luke's a possibility of the Not Dead crew. I suppose Jace just as much. Like they don't have any bodies, right? Damon, definitely don't find the body. Syrio, never found the body. Luther Tyrell, yes. I mean Ashara Dane. Like there it's true that there's just a lot of missing corpses and they're all going to float up. Like what's funny is if there's like one one stream that's like clogged up and everybody's like, what is this? And it's like 45 skeletons. And you're like, oh, that's what happened to Jace and Luke and Damon. Like it is just filled with all of these extra bodies. You're like, oh my God, I was wondering who they were. Oh, Stefan Baratheon. Yeah, they never find Stefan Baratheon's body either. Or the Tower of Joy crew. I mean, at least he built some I mean, I guess he just left the bodies in the desert there. The Summerhall Targaryens. Benjen Stark, Ben S. Like it took me a while with all of these. I was like, okay, we've got them all. We've got Jace Velaryon, Luke Velaryon, Daemon Targaryen, Robb
Stark.
What's that?
Robb Stark. His body's not accounted for.
That's true. Fact, Robb Stark's body is not accounted for.
Oh, why did you fucking say that? That was a joke. Oh, there's a
but
new
you're right. It's not accounted for.
There's a new Ice and Fire YouTuber that I found, and he has this theory he's trying to convince me of that Robb is actually alive, and I'm like, oh my God, and he like, come on, man, you gotta. He's making the video right now as we speak, and he goes, you gotta watch this. I'm like, fine, I'll bring it up with Preston on a pod or something. We'll watch it and we'll see, but. I wanted you to dismiss that. Fuck, you've given it more ammunition.
Luther Tyrell, I'm not sure if anybody said his body was never found, right? He just like rode off a cliff. Luther Tyrell was Alina's husband, but and he like rode off a cliff while hawking. But I think his body. No one ever said his body was like. But it's a lot. I mean, you want to go further. Night of Seashells. You know, lot of missing bodies out there. A lot of missing bodies, and they're all just in one big pile, like somewhere. You're like, oh God, you know. Marillion. It's sort of like looking behind. I don't know if you've ever done this, but like you look behind the washing machine, and there's like. There's like 7 socks back there, and you're like, oh, that's where oh my God, like it's the same thing with these bodies in Westeros. You just have to look behind the washing machine. It's just who knows where the washing machine is. Yeah,
you're right. There is quite a bit. Marillion, the Hound. Right, did you mention it?
Mm-hmm.
Stone Snake, supposedly. I don't know what happened to him.
Right, missing people and missing bodies. Yeah. Will they recast the Brood of Bracken in season 4? I think if it makes the season 4, I mean, I would say if it makes it to season 4 and they do Village Hero, those are big ifs, right? Like you have to be like, okay, we're not going to do She-Wolves of Winterfell. We're going to do Village Hero. We're confident enough that we're going to get 5 seasons. So we're going to skip over She-Wolves. And you do, and you do Village Hero, would they? Yeah, they'd recast Brit Bracken. Like we have no idea if the farting guy knows how to act. Did you ever hear the story of the guy who played Taylor? His name's Taylor Laughlin, the guy who played the werewolf in Twilight. You know what I'm talking
And
about?
Taylor Lautner.
Taylor Lautner. It's really
Lautner.
Lautner. Taylor
Yeah.
Lautner. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He used to date Taylor Swift, so it was like Taylor and
Yes.
Taylor, right? Yeah, really fucking weird. So when he was cast, he has a small bit role in Twilight, very small, and they cast him, and they really didn't think that they were going to stick with him. Like if things went further, like not that they didn't even know if they were going to get a sequel, right? But anyway, the movie does incredibly well, and they're going to do the sequel, and he knew he didn't have the job, and he's like, fuck. And so he like went and like worked out massively and like did all of this shit to like try to get his own role for the sequel, and he got it. But it's kind of funny that like they had no intention. Like they were on a starting at no position. Like we're not interested in you, and he's like, just let me try, and it like worked out for him. But he has a completely different look in Twilight. Like here. Yeah. Like he hadn't worked out at all. He, so he's just like, he just kind of shows up and he's got long hair, and then he fucking got ripped for the sequels.
Holy shit! He needs to never have long hair ever again. God.
Right. That's why they started out with like the no, and he's like, oh fuck, like he's going from a no position to like getting this body. Like you know how much fucking work that is. Like especially for a nobody. Like this isn't like millionaire personal trainer getting to this level when you have like infinite money and infinite like this is a nobody actor being like, I've got to get to this body in order to try to get this role. And he did it. I mean, so props to him, but and props to him for having sex with Taylor Swift. So, good.
His new wife's name is Taylor. So
it's good. These Taylor people, man. Let's see who. Let's see who he is. Taylor Dome? Is that her name?
That's a terrible last name. What?
Well, she can't go by Taylor Lautner, can she?
I'm sure she can.
I mean, look, she's obviously like real life. She's real life very beautiful, but she's, obviously nowhere close to Taylor Swift. So, but good on him. Good on him. Does Maester Luwin want Jon sent to the wall? That is a big question. I mean, I would say when you read it with that in mind, it does seem like that. Like Maester, I mean, granted, the plot demands that Jon go to the wall, so he kind of needs to go to the wall. But Uncle Ben was against Jon going to the wall, and then all of a sudden Maester Luwin's like, I talked to Uncle Ben, and apparently Jon wants to go to the wall. And then all of a sudden, like Ned's like, he wants him to go to the wall, and it's like, no, you're lying. You're lying. Uncle Ben didn't want Jon to go to the wall. Why would all of a sudden Luwin talking to Uncle Ben lead to Jon going to the wall? Like it's you know, obviously there's author error, and maybe the possibility that, you know, Ben changed his mind and things like that. But like, if you're reading the text, it seems like there's shenanigans. There's shenanigans going on with Maester Luwin when you read the text, because that's not what, like the last time we saw Ben, he really didn't want Jon to go to the wall. And then the next thing you know, Maester Luwin is arguing for Jon to go to the wall. I mean, I guess, you know, Maester, but why does Luwin want Jon to go to the wall? Does he dislike Jon for some reason? Does he like Catelyn for some reason? Catelyn really appreciates it. She's like, oh yeah, Luwin, nice. But like, why? Like, do we ever establish why Luwin would be pro Cat and anti Jon? None of it's ever established. Some people
they scheme together. They high five it in the back. Good shit, Luwin. Yeah,
I know. Some people theorize that like Luwin and Maester Aemon would know each other, and that he was passing a Targaryen to another Targaryen, or that he somehow figured out R plus L equals J, or all this different stuff. You know, I mean, the real truth is George R.R. Martin needed Jon to go to the wall, and it fucking doesn't make any sense to send Jon to the wall. There's a million reasons why Jon shouldn't go to the wall, but he needs Jon on the wall. So Maester Luwin like has this conversation where not all of the information is revealed, and somehow Ned doesn't have a conversation with Benjen about how Jon shouldn't go to the fucking wall, and somehow it all fucking happens. So based on the text, you have to think that Maester Luwin was scheming. That for whatever reason, he likes Cat, he fucking hates Jon, he's got some conspiracy, he wants Jon at the wall. Because we're literally given a chapter where like Ben is like, no, don't come to the wall. And the next then Luwin's like, I was talking to Ben. Jon's interested in going to the wall. We should send him there. Like, fuck. Like, what? Oh, no.
Well, it ultimately comes down to Luwin is Cat's best friend. Of course, he. I mean, that's the theory, right?
Well, the theory goes. There's a theory that Luwin came from, because of the error. There's an error in the text where she says that Luwin birthed all of my children, and then we find out that Cat birthed Robb at River Run. So why the fuck was both Luwin at River Run? He followed her, and they have a closer connection, and that's the only way to like make that work. When the probable thing is George made a mistake. Like George just fucking made a mistake.
Oh, that wasn't the theory I was talking about. There's a theory out there, I forgot from who, that Catelyn and Luwin are in a relationship or something.
Oh, like really? That they're fucking?
Yeah.
How about the one that like she and Jon are fucking, and he wants to like remove that affair?
Whoa, where's that one from? Who came up with that one?
I've heard the theory that Jon and Cat are secretly fucking, and that's why they have this like really like intense hate relationship, because they're actually having sex. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I know. I've heard it from like not one, but like many like a few sources. I'm not saying many, but a few sources that like Jon and Cat are actually having sex. And that once you reread all of the scenes, like the fact that they're having sex, and you're just like, that's stupid. No,
that's insane. That's like, who the fuck is
Maester Luwin knows about it, and he's trying to remove the affair element from the picture.
That's almost as insane as Missandei's a faceless men assassin. Almost as insane. It's up there, at least top 3.
But also,
least.
like, I mean, you can read into it quite a bit, because I think even when John is talking to Ben, he says, Maester Lewin says bastards grow up faster. As if, like, was Maester Lewin trying to get you to go to the wall? Did this idea come from Maester Lewin in the first place? That John's whole idea to go to the wall was Maester Lewin's? You know, so.
My God, it's so weird.
What should Ned have done to succeed with his coup? Well, first of all, like, he should have immediately, like, while Robert was in the Kingswood, he should have demanded that Cersei and the children go into exile immediate, or else they'd arrest you. Or, like, he says, like, you guys should run, and if you don't, like, I'm going to tell Robert. It should have been, you guys should run, and if you don't, I'm going to arrest you and put you on a ship myself and send you to and exile you myself. That's really the move he needed to do. Like, the minute Cersei defies him and, like, is lingering, like, he should have said, he's fucking hand to the king. He can do whatever he fucking wants at this point. Like, he should have, like, got with Renly, told Renly about everything, and, like, and had her arrested, popped her and the kids on a ship and exiled them like you wanted. The other thing is, he should have immediately sent like letters to Stannis, inviting Stannis back. It's only like a day's ship ride from Dragonstone. He should have immediately had Stannis come. Like, his big mistakes was not communicating with Stannis when Stannis was right fucking there, and tolerating Cersei way longer than he needed to be. And I'm not even saying, like, oh, if the smart thing would have been to kill her. Like, no, I'm talking, like, he gets everything he wants. He just does it. Like, right, like, you know, like, he's demanding that she self-exile. Like, why even have her self-exile? Arrest her, pop her on a ship, send her off. Immediately send shit to Stannis to get support. Like, that's it. And Renly. Stannis and Renly, like, immediately he should have information, like, you know, sending stuff to them about this, you know, considering that, like, Stannis is going to be the new heir. Once the kids are out of the picture, you know, it would have been a real easy lift. I mean, like, remarkably easy lift. Ned is an idiot in the sense that he has contradictory desires. Like, he hates Cersei, but he likes Cersei and, like, wants mercy for Cersei simultaneously. And it's like, if you're really caring about the kids and you really don't want to kill her, fucking arrest her and put her on a ship yourself. Don't let her linger until Robert gets back. It's ridiculous. Like, if you want her gone, make her gone. Like, that's what he should have done. If you were king of Westeros, who would be your small council? Only a Song of Ice and Fire characters only. First of all, Roderick the Reader is, like, number one. Okay, Roderick the Reader is, like, on my small council. It's Roderick the Reader. Let's see. Who, like, I mean, there's some other, like, I would probably make it very heavy, like, Maester heavy, but that's probably not smart. I should probably put some strong characters on there. The thing is like, the small council, you should have, like, I would be probably more of a diplomat. Like, a lot of these houses, they don't trust each other. And I would probably be like, okay, I'm going to have Willis Tyrell, like, Roderick the Reader. You know, I pull in I wouldn't want Oberyn Martell, but I could ask for, Arion Martell or somebody, throwing bones. Like I would throw a bone to each of the major houses and have them in there rather than because it's like the Kingsguard. You're offering them nothing. And they're like, what does the Master of Law do? None of us fucking know. Like it seems to be nothing except sit around a table and like argue. Like if you don't want to listen to him as king, like you don't have to listen to him. But like they're just there, and then they're on your side, and it doesn't seem like they're going to go to war because they're on the small council. It's all that's the thing. So it would be like, I'd put on Bronzion Royce and Willis Tyrell and um I don't
No
know,
Kevin?
Kevin, put Kevin Lannister, Edmure, um
No Jenna?
one of them, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter who.
Actually, Preston, on this channel we care about women. Let's put in Jenna
Let's
somewhere.
put in Jenna, but I've
Mhm.
got Ariane too. So I've got Jenna, I've got Ariane, um, you know, I've got Bronzion Royce, I've got Edmure.
We're also very inclusive, so let's include Lythen Omar in there somewhere.
Sure, sure. I mean, I admit that like I'm not really throwing any bones to the Ironborn by having on Roderick the Reader because they don't really give a fuck about him, but he's still House Harlaw. That's a huge fucking house, you know. So, um, yeah, but that's the thing is I would want to represent all of the Seven Kingdoms because one I would hear more about the Seven Kingdoms, but also like they would just I'd have more buy-in. I'd have more buy-in, but that's the thing. Oh, Preston, you're supposed to write the funniest chapter in all of Song of Ice and Fire, a council of Tyrion, Victarion, Makoro, Quentin, Barristan, Marwyn, Jorah. Pretty pisses make this happen. Pretty please make this happen. Not all of those people. So first off, like Victarion and Makoro and Quentin and Barristan are not going to be there. However, there will be a chapter in the future with Tyrion and Jorah and Marwyn and and other characters like Skahaz. So there will be some funny small councils with some information situations like Marwyn is going to show up in Slaver's Bay. This is no spoiler. Like Marwyn and Gilly are going to show up in Slaver's Bay. And Tyrion's going to be there. Jorah's going to be there. Skahaz is going to be ruling Marine. But yeah, we know that Quentin is going to be gone and Victarion's going to be gone. Makoro is going to be with him. So they've got their dragons. They're out of there. So the question is like, what happens? What happens once they're gone? Got some things like, where do I put Resnack? Does Resnack Mo Resnack survive? Do I have Resnack Mo Resnack follow Quentin, or do I have him stick around?
You have to bring him back. Like that character's amazing. It's a name so nice they named him twice.
I know
You have to bring
Resnack.
him back.
I was thinking about having him follow Quentin. Like Resnack Mo Resnack would be somebody that might follow Quentin because he was very scared of what would happen to him if Daenerys left. So yeah.
Hey, by the way, I don't do this. I promise to the audience I don't do this. The fanfic is Preston's thing. I almost never like throw anything at him. But can I make one request?
What was
A
that?
very selfish request. In the fanfic, when this chapter pops up with like all these characters coming down, can you finally have someone ask them what the fuck the nobility names are? Like the Mo, Zoe, and Ro. Like, can you actually have someone
Oh,
explain that
okay.
in the funniest way you could possibly? The funniest way you could possibly, because I feel like there's some comedy there. Because we have like his
Like,
stars.
right, like Tyrion should ask that at some point. Like,
Yeah, like what the fuck does it mean?
yeah, what's the difference between Mo and Zoe? Yeah, well, we have to come up with good explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the thing is, it might be something very simple, where like, so in Arabic, so you've heard of like putting al before something, like Al Jazeera, right? Like al means the in Arabic, right? But it's not always al. Like it's sometimes as and it's sometimes at, you know. And it's like when is it that? It's just a linguistic thing, like Ashobak. You don't say Al Shobak, it just sounds weird, so they use Ashobak, or whatever. Like, at tefillah. It's not al tefillah, at tefillah. Like, why? It's the same reason why some words are an honor versus a honor, like it's just what flows. It might be just Mo and Zoe doesn't mean anything. It might be just a linguistic sound. But I don't know. Maybe got to figure out a good thing for it, like what it means.
Throw it in there somewhere. Like at one point, Tyrion has to ask, "What the fuck does that even mean?" And you have to like, I trust you guys to make it great.
Yeah. Is Cold Hands controlled by Bloodraven? In the fanfic he is, but he's controlled by Bloodraven on some sort of subconscious level, and I did that intentionally. And that was because I'm toying with the idea of Lady Stoneheart and why Lady Stoneheart has risen from the dead. Who do you think like, why do you think, like, Carmine, why do you think that Lady Stoneheart is animated?
You already told me why.
I know, but like, I'm saying, like, outside of the fanfic, like, would you just say that, like, you believe, like, are you prone to believe Thoros of Myr's explanation in A Feast for Crows? Okay.
Mm-hmm. But you're trying to connect it with Arya.
Right. Because, like, prior to Lady Stoneheart waking up, Nymeria fishes her out of the river, pulls her to the shore, and she's like sitting over her saying, like, wake up, wake up. And then all of a sudden, like, by coincidence, Beric, Thoros, and Lem come along. Right. And then by coincidence, like, Beric Dondarrion happens to have the ability to animate the dead, and for some reason decides to kiss Catelyn for no fucking, like, reason, and passes the ability to be alive onto her. Right? Like, that's it. So it's kind of weird. I mean, obviously it's just like George needed this character to be alive, so he's going to have this coincidence happen, this massive coincidence that Nymeria was going to fish her out of the water. Honestly, like 2 minutes before Beric, Thoros, and Lem just happened to be walking. Like, that's it. They just happen to be doing that. What a coincidence that I want my mother to be resurrected, and within a 2-minute walk is Beric Dondarrion, who has that ability. It's, obviously the story has to happen, right? But it makes a little more sense to me that Arya is the one animating her. Like, Arya is the one that has, like, supernatural powers. She's sitting there she has a desire for her to be animated. Why would Beric want to do that? You know, like, does that make any sense? Um, let me see here. Where's the actual quote from her? From Arya in the Storm of Swords. Is it not wake up? It's in the yeah, here it is. So you're saying that, like, here's the passage. She splashed noisily through the shallows and threw herself into deeper water, her legs churning. The current was strong, but she was stronger. She swam, following her nose. The river's smells were rich and wet, and those were not the smells that pulled her. She paddled after the sharp red whisper of cold blood, the sweet cloying stench of death. She chased them as she chased often a red deer through the trees, and in the end she ran them down, and her jaw closed around a pale white arm. She shook it to make it move, but there was only death and blood in her mouth. By now, she was tiring, and it was all she could do was to pull the body back to shore. As she dragged it up the muddy bank, her little brothers came prowling, his tongue lolling from his mouth, lolling. She had to snarl to drive him off, or else he would have fed. Only then did she stop to shake the water from her fur. The white thing lay face down in the mud, her dead flesh wrinkled and pale, cold blood trickling from her throat. Rise, she thought. Rise and eat and run with us. The sound of horses turned her head. Men, they were coming from downwind. So she had not smelled them. But now they were almost here. Men on horses with flapping black and yellow and pink wings. That's Beric and Lem and Thoros, black and yellow and pink, with long shiny claws in hand. Some of her younger brothers bared their teeth to defend the food they'd found, but she snapped at them until they scattered. That was the way of the wild. Deer and hares and crows fled before wolves, and wolves fled from men. She abandoned the cold white prize in the mud where she dragged it and ran, and felt no shame. So what a fucking remarkable goddamn coincidence that Nymeria pulls a body from the water and then wants it to rise, and then someone comes along who has the ability to make it rise. What a fucking great, what a remarkable coincidence. So I'm just saying that, like, it's a little less of a coincidence if Nymeria and Arya are the one that made it rise subconsciously, and that Bloodraven has the same kind of abilities with Cold Hands, which is why I made Cold Hands like a friend of Bloodraven, and so that was it. That's it, But yeah, going over it, it's just silly. Lady Stoneheart is just. It's just silly. What a remarkable coincidence. Remarkable coincidence, one, that Nymeria would run into like Catelyn's body. And then a remarkable coincidence that she pulls him out right before fucking Beric Dondarrion, Thoros of Myr, and Lem Lemoncloak are there. But okay. Am I ruining the book for you, Carmine?
You do this all the time. It's whatever. I'm a husk at this point.
Theory: not a single knight in the modern story is a real knight because all of them branched off of knights knighted by Dunk. That'll be fun. No. That'll be fun.
But Egg Knight Sparriston, so he technically is a knight because a king can knight
That's the
Somebody.
problem with the theory, is that kings knight knights. And once a king knights a knight, it doesn't matter if the king is a knight or not. But yeah, that'd be a fun little thing that there are no knights because, but yes, the kings can make knights.
Joffrey knighted a bunch of people after the Blackwater, and so didn't the Kingsguard do that as well?
Yeah, the Kingsguard were just knighting people, like they were just running trains on dudes, knighting them.
Hmm.
It was like a long line of
Interesting.
dudes. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. Long line of dudes getting knighted. Um, but yeah, it would be funny and fun, but unfortunately, the kings can knight people. Um, Given the amount of kinslaying Bloodraven does to the Blackfires, any chance the brother he loved was Aegor? Killing four brother descendants doesn't scream love. I know what you're saying. This is the this is the line. Brother I loved, brother I hated. Okay, so he says, trying to get the right line. Because he says it right after the time travel stuff. It's brother I loved, brother I hated. Come on, here it is. Deep, 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 deep. I keep going to the wrong. I'm just gonna close that. What was on the wrong? Okay. He heard a whisper on the wind, a rustling among the leaves. You cannot speak to him, try as you might. I know. I have my own ghosts, Bran. A brother that I loved, a brother that I hated, a woman I desired. Okay, so the woman he desired is Shira Seastar, right? And then the brother that he hated is supposedly what, Daemon? And because they're competing, or no, is Aegor competing for it? Yeah, no, Aegor is competing for it. So the one he hated would probably be Aegor, and the one he loves is probably Daemon. Um, right? I'm trying to think of how many great bastards there are here that we can even like go through. Are there like who else could it be? What are the possibilities here? Okay. So he's got the great bastards. We got Daemon Blackfire, Aegor Rivers, Maya Rivers, Gwyneth Rivers, Shira Seastar, Bellanora Otherys, maybe Viserys Plum. The unfortunate thing here is that like we don't have any other male characters besides Daemon and Aegor. So, well, I mean, we got our the full blooded siblings, right? So his full blooded children of Aegor are just Daron is the only one. So we've got three men. Okay. Here's the argument I would say with our three. Let's do some fun thing here. Okay. Loved and hated, right? And then desired, right? Loved, hated, and desired. So the ones that seem to fit, I would say, without thinking about it too much, is you'd think that it'd be like Shira, and then Aegor, and you'd think that it would be Daemon. However, I would say that the loved could also, if you were going to think it's Daron, that maybe he feels guilty for maybe, you know how everybody's like, oh, Bloodraven created the Great Spring Sickness. And you're supposed to immediately think like, oh God, blaming this dude for a virus is pretty lame. Daron died in the spring. So you could argue that maybe Bloodraven really did create the spring sickness and accidentally killed Daron. Or maybe he not so accidentally killed Daron, just felt it was necessary to kill Daron. And that's what he's feeling guilty about. A brother I loved, a brother that I hated, a woman I desired. Now, the other thing is that, like, Aegor, how does Aegor die? On his deathbed, he commanded men of the Golden Company to boil the flesh of his skull. I mean, I suppose Bloodraven could somehow been involved in the death, but I don't know if he, like, would he feel guilty and be haunted by Aegor? You know, was he haunted by Daemon? But I don't think there's any chance that Aegor is the one he loves. I just don't have any reason why Aegor would be loved by him. I mean, he pretty much tried to kill all of Aegor River's children and things like that, right? I mean, I'm assuming that the line somehow, I guess we don't know if Aegor had any kids, but I mean, the assumption here is that somehow Aegon, our current Aegon in the story, young Griff, is a descendant of Aegor and Kala or something. That maybe Hagon had other sons, so he's killing off. We just don't. No evidence is given for anything, for any reason that Bloodraven would ever like Aegor. I mean, I admit that it, like, makes a more interesting story. Like, the assumption is just Blackwood Bracken, they hate each other. They're going for the same woman. Aegor is constantly sending, like, Golden Company people across the narrow sea for their whole fucking life. So they're just fighting their whole fucking life. That it'd be really hard for Aegor not to be in the fucking hated category. We have a lot of reasons to believe that Bloodraven hated Aegor, and zero reasons to believe that he loved him. Now, it'd be interesting if he did. Admittedly, I'd be like, how? When all of the evidence shows everything about it, the family feuds, the 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 rivalries, all of that. It'd be really amazing if they actually fucking loved each other somehow. I don't know how, but that would be amazing. Um, because it's not like they were raised together. Aegor was raised in different place, but maybe you could argue that Daron he loved Daron and felt guilty about, but why would he get haunted? Maybe he felt guilty about the spring sickness, but it seems like somehow he loved Daemon, hated Aegor, and desired Shira, and felt guilty for slaying Daemon in the on the red grass field. That's what makes the most sense. Not that there isn't something interesting about a subversion there, but that would be a lot. That would be, I don't know how. We don't have any evidence of it. Is Illyrio Epstein? I'm trying to think, like, trying to piece together like who is a worse human being. They're both pretty bad. I mean, one's a slaver. Both are slavers. They're both pretty gross, aren't they? They're both pretty gross. Hmm. 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 Oh, oh. I guess. Very rich guy who has a big manse filled with sex workers who actually deals in slaving and uh, has sexual attraction for very young women. Yeah, that's true. Um, a knight's vow means nothing because words are wind. A vow before a werewood has power because the north remembers. Hmm. So I mean, a vow is more than just the. I mean, the idea of of words are wind is the fact that like words are wind, but like what actions are real, right? Like words don't mean anything, right? But actions do. So I mean, you can make a vow, but you can make a vow without saying any words. You can make a vow in your head. Like it's about your personal, whether you yourself are fulfilling it. So like the existentialists like would say that like the greatest form of morality is like you come up with a code and then you follow it because then you're being authentic. If you say like I believe that eating veal is wrong, right? Say you believe eating veal is wrong. And you vow, it doesn't even matter if it's out loud or not, but you vow, I'm not going to eat veal because I think it's wrong. And then you go and eat veal. Okay, then what do you believe? Your word means nothing. And like so you have no moral code. You have nothing. Therefore, like, what are you? You're like, if the idea is that like, now I've got to go back. If like existence precedes essence, right? That like we define ourselves by what we do and that and pursuing the values that we have. Like at the end of the day, like our actions define who we are. And so if you break your own vows, you're being inauthentic. You are nothing. You are just amalgamous. Like what defines you? What are you made of if you break your own vows? That's the idea, like in the existential thing, that the strongest vow is like your own vow to yourself that you're going to do something. Um, well, breaking a promise to somebody else is actually like kind of meaningless because it's like, well, you could secretly have your own beliefs, like, but the idea is that like you have your own vows to yourself. I think probably the existentialists would say that like, that there's still this idea of like speaking what you are to other people is important too, because of you're letting other people know who you are. And if it's to yourself, like it dies with yourself. So I suppose it would be important to like tell other people your vows that you're going to do. But if you're speaking before a werewood, now you're saying that like your vows and keeping them only matter because you're worried about external punishment. You're only worried about external punishment from a god. You don't really have those beliefs. Like if you say like, oh, I don't really think eating veal is wrong, but I'm going to say it in front of a werewood. And the only reason I'm going to not eat the veal is because the werewood's going to hurt me, or the old gods are going to hurt me. Well, that's not your morality. That's just you being a slave to somebody else's like beliefs and being scared by somebody else's beliefs. So then what's being like what you are is just at that point, like you're not pursuing your own destiny. You're just following like somebody else's code, because you're frightened. So, I mean, I would say that like a knight's vow to themselves, doing it for their own sake is a very important thing. Now, in the actual Middle Ages, the real Middle Ages outside of George, vows were legal contracts, and that's how business was done. You say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. And some people will say like, oh, back in the South, back in Texas in the 70s, if you wanted business, a handshake was all you need. It's kind of very similar. Like verbal contracts could be trusted, and that's all a vow is in the actual Middle Ages was a contract. And like words are wind kind of goes against everything because it's like, well, what else do you fucking have? Like it's the Middle Ages. What other laws do you have on the books? Like not many. You essentially, your entire, like you don't have like written contracts like we do in the modern world that are like enforceable. Like you essentially only have vows, which is like verbal contracts, Why didn't Dunk enter Ashford as a mystery knight? Maybe that the rules of the tourney. I can only assume that's the rules of the tourney. Like not all tourneys forbid knights. I mean, obviously the hands tourney, Jory is in it, and he's not a knight. The Hound is in it, and he's not a knight. So it all depends on the tourney and the rules. It was very clear that Ashford had a rule that only knights could enter. And if only knights could enter, you can't really have a mystery knight, can you? I mean, it's possible that maybe at some that the plumber-like character, the steward, would be the one person that knew who the mystery knight was. But then, you're talking about these situations where like Harrenhal, where you've got the Knight of the Laughing Tree and stuff like that. Like, well, how do you enter the tourney at that point if you're not, there's no proof that you're actually a knight. But I mean, the only explanation I'd have for that is just you can't enter as a mystery knight because that's the rules of the tourney forbid it. That's it.
The show is consistent in that regard. I don't know if you recall, but in season 1 Game of Thrones, Jory doesn't participate, neither does the Hound.
Oh, yeah. No, the Hound participates.
No, he doesn't. he ends up fighting his brother
Oh,
because
he jumps in there to defend Loras. He like
he jumps in
jumps
to
out.
defend Loras, but he's on
Gotcha.
the side protecting the royal family.
Yeah, yeah, I see, I see. Huh. Yeah, you're right. The Jory wasn't in it.
So the show is consistent in that regard. Ugh.
Only Knights.
Yep.
Yeah, fair enough. Thoros. Wait, did they ever talk about Thoros of Myr being in a melee?
I don't recall.
That
Maybe.
that might be at some point. I would say that if Thoros of Myr in the show was ever in a melee, but then again, maybe they're like, oh, they can enter the melee, but not the joust, or some bullshit like that. Huh.
This guy. We're gonna have him on soon. Dan, the next super chat, and his
Mm-hmm.
Rob is alive theory. Oh, I can't wait for this one.
When Lewin comes into the room in Cat 2, Catelyn refers to it as the knock, not a knock, which insinuates she was expecting the knock. Fascinating.
Oh, that's a good one. Wait, Dan, message me. Are you implying that Catelyn and Lewin were conspiring to send Jon to the wall? Is this it?
She was going about she was about to go to him when the knock came at the door, loud and unexpected. Well, the problem is that right there it says unexpected. I mean, I admit that yeah, I mean, I was like, huh, can it mean just because he used the, but instead of she was about to go to him when the knock came at the door. I mean, it's just the way George writes. He was about to go to him when a knock came to the door, loud and unexpected. If it were the knock, it wouldn't be unexpected. That's the loud and unexpected.
Dan, I love you, man. You're getting called out in the stream chat because apparently this is a theory from another YouTube channel, and apparently they're like a big Catelyn hater channel.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I didn't realize that. Why would anybody hate Catelyn? Like, just
because she was
never
mean to
understood that.
Jon. That was it. She was mean to
Oh.
Jon. I
Hmm.
mean, she was mean to Jon and sexism. I mean, I'm like clearly sexism, but like
She's also cheating on Ned with Maester Lewin
she's
and
also
or
having
Jon
sex. She was
himself.
also having sex with Jon, and yeah, and
Jesus,
so many things. So
fucking
having
moonboy
sex
for
with a
all we know.
15-year-old boy, and sending
So
him to the
where
wall.
I really am curious. Who did that? Was that a YouTuber or like some person on Reddit? Like who put that theory out there?
I mean,
Did you just make that up or
no, I didn't make it up.
okay?
Definitely heard it.
Okay.
I mean, it's like all these like ridiculous like theories. Like there's, in fact, I think I even heard that Rickon was actually John's baby, and you're like, but
Where? How? Who is saying this? Who is doing this stuff?
I know. Are you going to analyze the House of the Dragon season 3 trailer? We went over it, right? You and me, we went over it on the stream.
Yeah, we went over it.
But there's not much to it. There's not much to it to analyze. I mean,
Trailer is a very generous word. It was a teaser, so
right. I mean, you can sit there and be like, oh, there's the Battle of the Gullet, and there's, there's Bela in place of Nettles, and you can kind of pull there's that person in that scene kind of stuff, but there's not too much to go with other than they're continuing on the they're going to open the doors for Rhaenyra thing.
Someone asked me real quick before you go to the next super chat. Someone asked me, "Do you think that House of the Dragon can be redeemed?" I think so. I know you said, I know you kind of said that you didn't think so after that Daemon thing. I think it can be.
Oh, I mean, if they just pretend it never happened, And like, continue on. Um,
Can't pretend that didn't happen.
yeah. Um, why was Tywin afraid of why was Tywin afraid of Stannis in Tyrion 7? He had no reason to think he would enter the war at this point, and Stannis had no army worth fearing. Oh, I know what you're saying. So I just went over Tyrion 7, and somebody made a very good point that like Tywin makes no fucking sense in the chapter because like Tyrion walks in and they're all about to go to war, and it's the first time he'd seen Tyrion since Tyrion had been arrested. Right? He was arrested, went to the Vale, had a trial, escaped, walked came all the way back. He runs into Tywin, and at no point is Tywin like, why the fuck did Catelyn arrest you? What the fuck is going on? Like no one went into this. Like they just like fucking like pass right by the fucking dagger issue, completely, and just start talking straight about battle. And so the idea, so there's another thing on like he says. Yeah, he says the boy may hang back or lose his courage when he sees our numbers. Lord Tywin replied. This is he gives this completely bullshit reason for why he needs to leave his defensible position, blocking the high road and the ford, and just go forward on the to face Roose Bolton on the King's Road for no reason. He decides to go, and then he says, "The sooner the Starks are broken, the sooner I shall be free to deal with Stannis Baratheon. Tell the drummers to beat assembly, and send word to Jaime that I am marching against Robb Stark." Um, Trying to remember if they already said that they were gathering swords, or is that Lysa was gathering swords? I think they said Lysa was gathering swords. I'm trying to. Does anyone? Lysa Arryn fled beyond my reach, and the whisperers say that they are gathering swords. Oh, here it is. Stannis, Baratheon, and Lysa have fled beyond my reach, and the whispers say they are gathering swords around them. So if Tywin also has a spy, or if Pycelle found something out from Varys and then passed it on to Tywin, you can argue that Tywin already knows that Stannis is gathering swords. And would question Joffrey's, or is already planning to do a coup. Now, of course, Renly is already actively fucking gathering swords, and everyone should fucking know that. So really, he should be saying, I mean, I would argue Stannis and Renly. The sooner I can deal with both Stannis and Renly, I think would make more sense. But I think you are right that it's a bad line. There is there are, maybe it's just okay. He has old news. He has old whispers that Stannis is gathering swords, but he doesn't seem very interested in Lysa. He should be just as interested in Lysa and wanting to deal with her. But I guess that's the argument, that he has old news about Stannis gathering swords. But you're right that it's like not a significant army that's worth fearing. I mean, that's all true. But he does know that Stannis is probably a threat. But she should know, if he has any spies worth a damn, that Renly is a much bigger threat. Considering that, Renly and Loras have been scheming for a long time.
Does he know that Lysa is accusing his children of killing her husband? I don't think you know that either.
We don't know what Tywin knows,
It sounds like he's the dumbest person in the story at this point.
Tywin is
he knows nothing.
Tywin is an irrational, like, bull in a china shop, like just being crazy nuts. I mean, when you think about, like, what's going on, okay, so Tyrion gets arrested, and the first thing that he decides to do is to hire the Mountain to start attacking Riverland's towns, and then hide at Mummer's Ford, even though the road to the Clegane Keep would be on the Gold Road and wouldn't even be that route. But, like, to hide and attack Beric Dondarrion. Like, that's his big move. Like, and you're like, why is Tywin doing that?
What's unfortunate is that George could have totally explained this with Kevin, but Kevin's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Then he proceeds to bring in his full force. Decides to take his huge force, rush them really far to King's Landing, but then leave King's Landing and rush at, like, north to take out Roose, when, like, there's every reason to, like, stay south. Like, rushing up to, like, get, like, Roose is just, he's got some time thing. He's just like, I got to get to Stannis. Like, what? Well, why? Like, what? Do you have ships? I don't understand. Like, what's going on here? You're not dealing with Renly. George needed something to happen. But you're right that, like, he's.
You're not saying your catchphrase anymore. I'm a little disappointed.
What? Time traveling Bran planned it all?
No, the other one.
It's tough.
No, the other. Damn, you have a lot of catchphrases. No, that George fucked up. George
fucked up.
You're not saying
Bloodraven and Aegor are heated rivalry. Yeah, it's true. That the one he loved, but he does say woman he desired. Yeah, I'm sure the World of Ice and Fire says that, but, that's what the public believes. Who knows what the private believes? Littlefinger is Epstein. They're both there. There's a lot of fucking Epsteins around in the fucking story. Littlefinger is Jeffrey Epstein, rich guy who came out of nowhere with a lot of connections and blackmail and traffic girls, released the Baelish files. So like, what do we have there? Like, the one king that was hanging out with him, though, on Epstein Island was Viserys. So, like, Trump is Viserys is the idea, but, like, yeah. But unfortunately, Littlefinger, I mean, Illyrio's still alive, and so is Littlefinger, so. Okay, coming down to the end. I'm surprised Trade and join us this evening. I thought we were going to talk about a little bit of his big video. Carmine, you messaged him and he was busy.
You want me to try give him one call real quick?
Okay, you can call real quick. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I'll try.
gotta be fast because yeah, I gotta go to bed soon. One of your subreddits, R. Preston Jacobs, not the Sweet Robin one, was in a restricted status, so I had it opened up. Some said I should ask your permission, so here it is after the fact. Sorry. So the unfortunate thing is on a liability sense, I can't be giving permission on stuff like this. So like, um, I just
Liability sense. What do you mean?
well, I mean, like, what if something like what if some weird shit happens in a something that I have no control over that has my name,
Right.
Um, that's the only thing, you know. Um, so like I like the thing is I don't want to be giving permission for things that I have that that in a liability sense like could be like
With your
blamed.
name on it.
Yeah,
That's
with
why
my
the
name.
Sweet Robin thing makes more sense, right? Because it's the fanfic.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Um, because what if
That makes sense.
what right? I mean, not that obviously you're planning on anything like crazy, but like say like somebody gets bullied and commits suicide, or somebody gets like lured into sexual molestation or something on the whatever some subreddit that like I gave permission to. Like I don't want that shit I don't want that shit to like have that kind of liability. That's the only.
I tell this story every now and then. I won't say the guy's name, but a YouTuber friend of mine, he was
Mm,
kind of very off with this stuff, and someone made a Discord with his name on it, and they never asked him permission. A Discord, and I think maybe a subreddit too. They never asked him
yeah.
permission, and I told him like, "Are you cool with this?" And he goes, "I don't care." Eventually, that server became like a hotbed for sharing very disgusting things involving children, and he like threatened to fucking sue the guy. I'm not saying nuclear is going to do that. I don't think he will, but I get what you mean about the liability thing. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes me like, nervous about that. So,
Hmm.
um, you know.
Oh, by the way, the fact that someone mentioned the Sweet Robin, did you see on the Sweet Robin subreddit, someone made a map? I love this. Someone made a map. I'll send this to you right now. Someone made a map of the um, Asha battle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really fucking cool. Shout out to Scheme Admirable 5194. Wow. Fucking great. And it's like super high definition and everything. Like,
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, yeah.
oh, I love it. It's so good. Is it accurate? I feel like it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to okay, I'm going on the yes. So the idea is that yes, in the middle are like the Karstarks, right? With the mountain clans. And with some mountain clans. And then like mountain clans are to the the north, and then the knights are to the one side, right? And then because there's more mountain clans than anybody else, so he like stiffens the Karstarks. But the idea is that the Karstarks were like the least valuable, thus they're the ones that could fall. And then you've got then I see he has Hostine Frey in the front there, and then with him, oh yeah, I see he has Little Walder. Um, oh yeah, who like who is up there at front, but then when they attack, he stays back. That's all true. Um, and then the Herons who are kind of come from one side. Um, I'm trying to remember if they came. I I forget if the Herons might. be on the other side or not. Not that it necessarily matters, but I'm trying to think if anything. It doesn't really matter what side the herons come up, I suppose, but only that they're near where the ice would be breaking, and so like the idea is that like the knights are on the more stable side. So the herons, I envision the herons coming up the same side as the mountain clans. Oh no, yeah, because they come down the same side as like the Freys, because the Freys come down the mountain clan side and then turn and come in. I envision the herons coming down that side, but the battle hasn't begun yet, so I suppose all of this is like, but yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very cool.
Please do more of those. To like, I love these. Like, I truly love these. Please do more of those. Please and thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Pretty fun with all the banners and everything. Of
Um,
oh, and then he has each of the knights that are there. Oh, cool. On the next to Stannis and everybody. Oh, that's pretty cool.
please do more of these. I love stuff like this so much. You have no idea.
Yeah, because this is all before, like right before the attack, right? Yeah. Okay. And he has like you can't see the tower and all of that because of the mist and everything.
Mm-hmm. This is so cool. Yeah, I like I said, I saw this a while back, and I wanted to give it a shout out because again, I actually am invested in the fanfic.
Mm.
So I know when I read your book, I hit you up privately. I'm like, hey, you did a typo here.
Yeah.
Um, I have not been like, sorry, I haven't. I'm sure I probably missed a few typos, but I'm so like fucking invested in like the Battle of Ice and all that stuff that I'm like, it's like I'm just not noticing stuff like that. So, um, I can call Trey now, but it is about to be 12 a.m. Do you?
Yeah, we'll
You
talk. We'll
think?
talk to him next week then.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man. Jamie 2. When is that? When is that coming down?
Hopefully end of the month. Hopefully end of the month. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes. Um. Yeah. So. But anyway, thanks for everybody for hanging out, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you, Carmine, for joining me.
Thank you for
And
having me.
yeah, okay. Talk to you guys later.